Let me welcome you, my dear students. This is our fourth learning session of Classics in Drama with MA English second semester. My dear students, if you remember what we did last time, we tried to learn the themes in Oedipus Rex. So, my dear student, it was about the previous lecture that we have discussed the themes in Oedipus Rex. Now we are going to discuss the outline that today we will discuss the introduction of Christopher Marlowe and the summary of the tragic story of Dr. Faustus and its characters. So dear student, it was the outline. So we are going to start our today's lecture and we are going to start our discussion with the Christopher Marlowe, that he was a great literary legend. He was graduated from Corpus Christi College in 1584. If you talk about his play, that his first play was Dido, Queen of Carthage. And if you talk about this play, that his career was started, or we can say that his literary journey began as he wrote the Dido, Queen of Carthage. Then if you talk about his involvement in politics, then he was involved in some political issues and he was died by Ingram Fraser in 1593. It was little bit about his life. So we are going to discuss now the major works or major play or tragedies of Christopher Marlowe. So my dear student, let me tell you that the Tamburlaine the Great was written in century 1587. While if we talk about the Dr. Faustus, it was written in 1588 century. While if we talk about the Gaol of Malta, then we can say that this play was, or this tragedy was written in 1589. So it was about his major works. Now we are going to discuss the Dr. Faustus. Before I start my discussion on the plot summary of the Dr. Faustus, let me tell you about the title of the Dr. Faustus, that it is the tragic history of the life and death of Dr. Faustus, that commonly shortened to the title character name, that Dr. Faustus. If we talk about this play, that this play was written by Christopher Marlowe and it was published in 1604. Now we are going to start our discussion on the summary, that Dr. Faustus, a well-reputed or respected German scholar, grows dissatisfied with the limits of traditional form of knowledge like logic, medicine, law and religion, and decides that he wants to learn to practice magic. His friends Welt and Cornelius instruct him in the black art, and he begins his new career as a magician by summoning up Mephistopheles, who is a devil. Despite Mephistopheles' warning about the horror of hell, Faustus tells the devil to return to his master Lucifer with an offer of Faustus' soul in exchange for 24 years of service from Mephistopheles. Meanwhile, Wagner, Faustus' servant, has picked up some magical ability and uses it to press a clown named Robin into his service. So, if we talk about the Mephistopheles, that he returns to Faustus with word that Lucifer has accepted Faustus' offer, and Faustus experiences some misgivings and wonders if he should repent and save his soul. In the end, though he agrees to the deal, signing it with his blood, as soon as he does so, the words homofuge, means it is a Latin word that is used for "O man fly," appears. If you talk about this word, that it appears branded on his arm. Faustus again has second thought, but Mephistopheles bestows rich gift on him and gives him a book of spells to learn. Later Mephistopheles answers all of his questions about the nature of the world, refusing to answer only when Faustus asked. Means he asked about, we can say that he asked him who made the universe. This refusal prompts yet another bought of misgivings in Faustus, but Mephistopheles and Lucifer bring in personification of the seven deadly sins to prance about in front of Faustus, and he is impressed enough to quiet his doubt. So, my dear students, if we talk about the means the power that the armed with his new power and attended by Mephistopheles, Faustus begins to travel. He goes to the Pope court in Rome, makes himself invisible, and plays a series of tricks. He disrupts the Pope's banquet by stealing food and boxing the Pope's ear. Then if you talk about the incident, that following this incident he traveled through the court of Europe with his fame spreading as he goes. Eventually he is invited to the court of the German Emperor Charles V, the enemy of the Pope, who asks Faustus to allow him to see Alexander the Great, the famed 4th century before Christ, Macedonian king and conqueror. Then the Faustus conjures up an image of Alexander, and Charles is suitably impressed. A knight scoffed at Faustus' power, and Faustus we can say that Chaucer chastises means his chastises him by making antler sprout from his head. So furious the knight was revenge. So if we talk about the Robin, that meanwhile Robin Wagner's clown has picked up some magic on his own, and with his fellows the stable hand Raffi, he undergoes a number of comic misadventures. At one point, he manages to summon Mephistopheles, who threatens to turn Robin and Raffi into animals, or perhaps even does transform them. The text is not clear, to punish them for their foolishness. Then if we talk about the Faustus, that Faustus then goes on with his travels, playing a trick on a horse courser along the way. Faustus sells him a horse that turns into a heap of straw when ridden into a river. Eventually, Faustus is invited to the court of the Duke of Hainault, where he performs various feats. The horse courser shows up there along with Robin, a man named Dick, Raffi in the A text, various others who have fallen victim to Faustus' trickery. But if we talk about the Faustus, that Faustus casts spells on them and sends them on their way, to the amusement of the Duke and Duchess. So if we talk about the further deal, that as the 24-year of his deal with Lucifer come to a close, Faustus begins to dread his impending death. He has Mephistopheles call up Helen of Troy. As you people know, Helen of Troy is the we can say that is the simply is that the goddesses, and Helen of Troy Helen of Troy is also a name used by a princess of Troy, the famous beauty from the ancient world, and uses her presence to impress a group of scholars. An old man urges Faustus to repent, but Faustus drives him away. Faustus summons Helen again and exclaims, we can simply say that he exclaims rapturously, and we can say that he rapturously about her beauty. But time is growing short. Faustus tells the scholars about his pact, and they are horror stricken and resolve to pray for him. On the final night before the expiration of the 24 years, Faustus is overcome by fear and remorse. He begs for mercy, but it is too late. At midnight, a host of devils appears and carries his soul off to hell. In the morning, the scholars find Faustus' limbs and decide to hold a funeral for him. So this was about the we can simply say that the if we talk about the plot or summary, so let's discuss that it was the Faustus who he was a respectable German scholar, but he was bored, and he tried to learn some new thing, and he's simply involved in black magic due to his friends like Verdes and Carnus, and it was then a devil appears to him, and the name of the devil was Mephistopheles, and he tells Faustus tells Mephistopheles to return his master Lucifer with an offer in exchange of his soul for 24 years, having Mephistopheles and all his knowledge of magic and begged and called. Then Mephistopheles returns to Faustus with a contract for his soul, and we can simply say that this contract was signed through his own blood. Then we can simply say that the Mephistopheles answers many of Faustus' questions except a question that was who made this. We can simply say that this world, or we can say that who made this universe. So then because Mephistopheles was not able to answer this question, he asked many other questions, and Mephistopheles, the Lucifer Canes, and his we can say that they involve in many other things, and he forget about the things, and now he moves on to another thing, and he practices magic and travels many courts of Rome, anything else, or many other things. Then we can simply say that he travels to England, where he met many when he sells an enchanted horse to a horse dealer. When the man rides his new horse over water, it turns into a bale of straw. The Duke of Venalt hears about this and invites Faustus to visit him and his wife, the Duchess. The horse dealers show up along the Robin and Rafe, or Rafe, what you can call it. It's the Rafe, a Rafe, going to get Evan. Then Faustus casts a spell of silence on them so they cannot speak of his wrongs, and sends them on their way, which amuse the Duke and Duchess. At the end of the contract approaches, Faustus begins to dread his impending doom and has Mephistopheles call up Helen of Troy. The Helen of Troy. Then, at the end of or the final night of his life, Faustus is overcome by fear and remorse, and he begs for mercy. And as the clock strikes midnight, and a group of devils enter Faustus' study to claim his soul. The next morning, his colleagues find his body torn limb from limb, and decide to give him a proper burial. So this was little bit about the summary. So let's discuss the characters. That the major characters are the Faustus and Mephistopheles. If we talk about the minor characters, they are Chorus, Old Man, Good Angel, Evil Angel, Lucifer, Clown, Robin, Raphael, Horse Cursor, and the scholars, the Pope, the Emperor Charles V, the Knight, Bruno, and Duke of Venald, and Martino, and Frederick. So now we are going to discuss it one by one. That Faustus, the protagonist of the story. Faustus is a brilliant 16th century scholar from Wittenberg, Germany, whose ambition for knowledge, wealth, and worldly might makes him willing to pay the ultimate price, his soul, to Lucifer in exchange for supernatural power with black magic. So Faustus' initial tragic, we can say the grandeur, is diminished by the fact that he never seems completely sure of the decision to forfeit his soul and constantly wavers about whether or not to repent. His ambition is admirable and initially awesome, yet he ultimately lacks a certain inner strength. He is unable to embrace his dark path wholeheartedly, but is also unwillingly to admit his mistakes. So, if you talk about the Mephistopheles, it is a devil who Faustus summons with his initial magic experiments. Mephistopheles' motivations are ambitious. On the one hand, his oft expressed goal is to catch Faustus' soul and carry it off to hell. On the other hand, he actively attempts to we can say that dissuade Dr. Faustus from making a deal with Lucifer by warning him about the horror of hell. Mephistopheles is unlimitedly as tragic a figure as Faustus, with his moving, regretful account of what the devil have lost in their eternal separation from God, and his repeated reflection of the pain that comes with damnation. So, if we talk about the minor character, the chorus, a character who stands outside the story, providing narration and commentary. The chorus was customary in Greek tragedies. So, if you talk about the old man, it is an enigmatic figure who appears in the final scene. The old man urges Faustus to repent and to ask God for mercy. He seems to replace the good and evil angels who in the first scene try to influence Faustus' behavior. Then if you talk about the good angel, a spirit that urges Faustus to repent his pact with Lucifer and return to God. And if we talk about the evil angel, it is a spirit that serves as the counterpart to good angel and provides Faustus with reasons not to repent for sin against God. If you talk about the evil angel, repent the evil half of the Faustus conscience. If we talk about the Lucifer, the prince of devils, the ruler of hell, and Mephistopheles' master. Then if you talk about the Wagner, that Faustus' servant's name is Wagner, who uses his master's book to learn how to summon devil and work magic. If we talk about the clown, a clown who becomes Wagner's servant, the clown's antiques provide comic relief. He is a ridiculous character and his absurd behavior initially contrasts with Faustus' grandeur. If you talk about the Robin, that an austere or innkeeper who, like the clown, provides a comic contrast to Faustus' Robin and his friend Raphael, learn some basic conjuring, demonstrating an evil and even the learned scholarly can possess skill in magic. So if you talk about the Raffi, the hostler and a friend of Robin. Um, so if you talk about the Wares and Carnal, so the if you talk about the Wares and Cornelius, they are the two friends of Foster's, both magician who teach him to the art of black magic. If you talk about the horse courser who buy a horse from Foster's, which vanish after the horse courser rides into water, leading him to seek revenge. Then, if you talk about the scholars, Foster's colleagues at the University of Wittenberg, loyal to Foster's, the scholars appear at the beginning and end of the play to express dismay at the turn Foster's studies have taken, to marvel at the achievement, and then to hear his agonized confession of his pact with Lucifer. Then, if you talk about the Pope, that the head of the Rome Catholic Church and the powerful political figure in the Europe of Foster's day. If we talk about the Emperor Charles V, the most powerful monarch in Europe, whose court Foster's visit. Then, if we talk about the knight, it is a German nobleman at the emperor court. The knight is skeptical of Foster's power, and Faustus makes antlers sport from his head to teach him a lesson. If we talk about the Bruno, the candidate for Papacy, supported by the emperor, Bruno is captured by the Pope and freed by Faustus. Bruno appears only in B text various of Dr. Foster. If we talk about the Duke of Venord, a German noble whom Faustus visit. And if we talk about the Martino and Frederick, they are the friend of Benvolio, who reluctantly join his attempt to kill Faustus. So this was about our today's lecture. Means let's take a quick review that today we have discussed the introduction to Marlowe and summary of the tragic story of Dr. Faustus and characters, and it was about today's lecture. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.